Coming to you live from Petoskey, Michigan, it's Northern Michigan's only live and local afternoon talk show, WMKT's Talk of the North. Something on your mind? Call our studio line at 866-371-1270 or connect on social media at Triple Talk WMKT on Facebook and X. Now, bringing you the latest news from the region, states, and around the country. Here's your host, Nick Rudy.
Good afternoon, Northern Michigan. Welcome to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT. Streaming online at WMKTTheTalkStation.com. Happy Monday. It is the final full week of August. September is approaching very, very quickly. It already feels like fall. Oh man, I can sense the impending doom that signals the pumpkin spice lattes are about to return, and all of the women descending upon Starbucks, which is not too far from our studios here in Petoskey. The question is whether this weather will hold in this fall preview or will summer return. We'll take a look at your expanded forecast here to see which way it's going to go. We have partly cloudy skies tonight, dipping down to 48. It is going to be chilly tomorrow. Patchy fog early, mostly sunny, a high near 78, so it'll get back up to even warmer than it was today. Tomorrow night, showers possible, a low of about 57, a little bit back to normal for overtime temperatures. Wednesday will be rainy, showers and thunderstorms likely throughout the day, a high near 77. Showers can linger into Wednesday night before clearing out Thursday, which will look mostly sunny with a high near 74. So we're still seeing some of the summer temperatures here in Northern Michigan, but it is getting noticeably chillier. You know, look, we still got a little bit of more time in August. We have early September, but I'll tell you what, I'm kind of putting a bow on the summer of 2026, and it was a mild summer, all things considered. I remember, a couple of summers ago, it would hit 90, high 80s with regularity. I've been seeing a lot of 70-degree days here in Northern Michigan. So one, so much for global warming, but two, I love it. This has been a great summer so far, at least as far as the temperature is concerned. We have a lot to get to on the show today. It is every Monday with lots of local news to catch up on. We have a lot of conversations headed our way. A teen is accused of stabbing another teen north of St. Ignace. A 29-year-old Gaylord man was shot and killed by police following a vehicle pursuit. And the dispute between Leland Township and Leland Lighthouse continues to get messier. We'll be joined by a member of the Rotary Club of Petoskey coming up on the show today, and we're going to be talking with two high school football broadcasters. One you know quite well, producer Austin calls Petoskey Northman football with great frequency, and we're going to be joined by Tim Lewick, Kingsley Stags football. Always a fun conversation with him. So we have a lot to get to on the show. So we will head right in to WMKT's Market Watch. The Dow Jones gained 140 points up to 53,417. The Nasdaq dropped 200 points down to 25,980. The S&P 500 fell 21 points, dropping to 7,655. Bitcoin, another positive day, up $1,185. Is it ever going to look back? It's climbing and climbing and climbing, up to $78,973. I'll be interested in this run if it actually ever hits six figures again. I believe the peak that we reported on over the past couple of years was about 120. It was 120 or 125,000 for Bitcoin. I think it was 120. Blue chips, notable winners today. Not a lot on either end. We had Johnson & Johnson and Meta, notable losers. NVIDIA, Intel, space exploration technology. They've been in the red more days than not recently. Chevron and Tesla. Biggest gain today, XBN360 Inc. gained 80%. Biggest decline, First Breach Inc. dropped 48%. That has been WMKT's Market Watch. Well, you heard what we were talking about in local news. Lots of crimes between our update that we'll have for you on the Missaukee County shooting, what happened up near St. Ignace, what happened in Gaylord. Man, what is going on with northern Michigan? Some of these crimes that have been happening do not sound very northern Michigan-esque. I mean, I remember when I first started, of course we've had our issues up here, but first started, it was a lot of drug stuff, and that's still going on. But man, some of these cases are, well, it's pretty high profile in the last, especially 2 years. It's quite unfortunate. So hopefully I don't have to report on many more of these stories for the rest of the year here, but we'll have those news stories for you and more headed your way after these messages. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM Triple Talk, WMKT.
Hi, I'm Kevin Love. People see the NBA career, the championship ring, but what they don't always see is the anxiety or the moments I felt completely lost. That's why Sony Pictures Animation's film GOAT means so much to me. It's about Will Harris, a small goat who believes in himself and proves you don't have to be the biggest to be a champion.
Everyone's always told me smalls can't ball. I'm too blessed to be stressed. Everything I need to succeed is right here.
Through the Kevin Love Fund, we've created GOAT Beyond the Game, a completely free curriculum for teachers, coaches, parents, and youth programs. 4 lessons designed for kids K through 8 that cover everything from managing anger to building resilience to believing in yourself when the world doubts you. These are evidence-based tools that actually work and will help kids discover that they have the power to change the game. Go to kevinlovefund.org right now and download GOAT Beyond the Game for free.
To kids, summer isn't just time off. It's time spent building confidence and curiosity. But when school meals pause, millions of kids lose access to the food they count on during the school year. As a neighbor-led network, Feeding America is deeply rooted in every community, ensuring summer meals continue nourishing growth and potential. Your support puts healthy food within reach, fueling the future for kids and their families. Give now at feedingamerica.org/summerhunger.
Vince Colonnese.
If it's something where they're ruling against Trump, they just make it seem like the voice of God. Of course, a federal judge ruled against Donald Trump because Donald Trump's awful. He's a big tyrant, and a federal judge stepped in and saved America. Like, well, how did he save America? What happened here? Oh, he stopped the president from saving taxpayers' money. He's demanding that the president follow Joe Biden's mindless dictates.
Tune in weekdays on Triple Talk WMKT from noon to 3 for
The Vince Show.
Local news, local voices, and the conversations that matter. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North with Nick Rudy on 102.3, 103.3 FM, and 1270 AM Triple Talk WMKT. And streaming across the state of Michigan at WMKTTheTalkStation.com.
Welcome back to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT, streaming online at WMKTTheTalkStation.com. Our phone number, 866-371-1270. 866-371-1270. If you give that a call, you will hear producer Austin's voice on the other end as he fields your phone call and either answers a question you may have or gets you on the air connected with the show and the rest of the listeners to talk about what is on your mind. 866-371-1270. The family of 2 victims in last week's Missaukee County shooting says 13-year-old Bella Everett is making progress. Bella has been released from intensive care and is walking again after being shot 4 times. Doctors removed a bullet from her esophagus, while 2 others remain in her side and another lodged near her lower spine. Bella's grandfather says she's already asking when she can return to school, calling her recovery a miracle. Bella's mother, 40-year-old Amanda Everett, and her brother, 16-year-old Eric Thomas, were killed in the August 14th shooting. 6 people died across 3 locations, including the suspected shooter. A memorial visitation for Amanda and Eric is planned for Thursday from 4 to 6 at Peterson Funeral and Cremation Services in Cadillac. The family is asking for donations to Bella's care fund instead of flowers. Leland Township's ongoing dispute with Youth for Christ is getting ever more complicated. The Township's Planning Commission denied a permit back in April for a Youth for Christ clubhouse in downtown Leland. The property owner, Apollos Properties, appealed that decision, but the appeal hearing was delayed after the Township Zoning Board of Appeals temporarily lost its quorum. The board has now been fully staffed, and Township officials say they're working to reschedule that hearing. The board is, meanwhile, Apollos Properties and Leland Lighthouse have sued the township, alleging their constitutional religious rights were violated when the permit was denied. The Township Planning Commission Chair Lee Corvey says the decision was based on zoning issues, not religion. The lawsuit has also drawn a separate complaint from Leland Township trustee candidate Stacy Brugman. The lawsuit mistakenly attributed an anti-Youth for Christ email to her using an email address that does not belong to her. Brugman says the statements do not reflect her views and that attorneys have advised her the error could constitute libel. The law firm representing Youth for Christ has since amended the lawsuit and removed Brugman's name, saying it acted promptly after learning of the mistake. Messier Pharmacy is expanding healthcare access in the community with a new doctor's office being built behind the pharmacy. The clinic will have a lab, 2 exam rooms, and a nurse practitioner, with construction expected to wrap up by the end of September. The clinic is expected to begin seeing patients in mid-October. The pharmacy itself is also being renovated and will offer curbside pickup only from September 1st through the 26th. An 18-year-old man is facing an attempted murder charge after Michigan State Police say he stabbed another 18-year-old man following an altercation in Moran Township. The victim was treated locally before being transferred to McLaren Northern Michigan Hospital in Petoskey. The suspect was identified as Maxwell Phillips. He is facing an attempted murder charge as well as assault with intent to murder and assault with a dangerous weapon. He was given $500,000 bond, and he'll be due back in court on September 1st. A 29-year-old Gaylord man is dead following an officer-involved shooting in Dover Township early Saturday. Michigan State Police say the incident began when the man fled a traffic stop on South Otsego Avenue. The pursuit ended near Spar and Wilkeson Roads when he struck a Michigan State Police patrol car and crashed into a tree. Police say the shooting happened after the crash. The man died at the scene. The Otsego County Sheriff's deputy was not injured, and the state police are now investigating the incident. Traverse City's Downtown Development Authority is spending up to $20,000 to improve two-way traffic on State Street. Consultants will study changes at the State Union and State Cass intersections, including upgraded signals and possible turn lanes to reduce backups. Other options include new crosswalks, bike lanes, and changes to parking. The DDA hopes to present recommendations by October or November. Michigan's air quality monitoring network may leave large parts of northern and west Michigan without accurate information about pollution levels. The state has 45 monitoring sites, including just 2 in the Upper Peninsula and none in the Lower Peninsula north of Frankfort. Experts say monitors can be hundreds of miles apart, creating gaps in data during wildfire smoke events and for pollution from industry and agriculture. Michigan says its network meets federal requirements, but has no plans to add more monitors because of funding constraints. Well, it sounds like we're going to add more monitors and make Canada pay for it. How about that? A promising new blood test could detect dozens of cancers at an earlier stage, including pancreatic, liver, and ovarian cancers that don't have routine screening tests. The Gallery test costs about $950 out of pocket, but experts say they're still uncertain whether early detection actually helps people live longer. A new federal law could provide Medicare coverage for some patients starting in 2028 if the FDA approves the test. An FDA panel is scheduled to review its safety and effectiveness next month. The Bear River Valley Dog Park in Petoskey is officially open. The roughly $80,000 project, funded through the county's general fund, features separate areas for large and small dogs, along with a washing station, drinking fountain, and benches. Future plans include an obstacle course and additional trees. Traverse City leaders are testing a new way to slow traffic on Peninsula Drive near Bryant Park. Speed tables, raised sections with gradual ramps and a flat surface, have been installed on a trial basis. City officials will monitor traffic speeds and conditions during the test, with the speed tables scheduled to be removed before winter. Great Wolf Lodge is offering a promotion to benefit Traverse City area public schools. On Wednesday and Thursday, the first 500 people who donate a new backpack filled with school supplies will receive 2-day passes to the indoor water park this fall. The giveaway is part of Great Wolf Lodge's first ever nationwide backpack give back program. Gas prices have dropped 11 cents from last week, down to an average of $4.16 a gallon. That's 10 cents lower than this time last month and 85 cents higher than this time last year. Elk Rapids is adding a new service for residents looking to cut down on food waste. The Elk Rapids Recycling Center will soon open a composting station where anyone can drop off household food scraps, including fruit and vegetable waste. The service is expected to begin within the next few weeks at the center on Herman Road. Users will need food scraps and a device to scan a QR code for payment. Camp Grayling is getting a major new role in drone technology. The U.S. Army has selected the training site as one of 5 locations nationwide where private companies can test drones and counter drone systems. Local economic leaders say the designation could attract defense and aerospace companies, investment, and high-tech jobs to the region. Northwestern Michigan College is also expanding its drone training program with hopes of eventually allowing beyond visual line-of-sight flights between Camp Grayling and Traverse City. Local leaders are also pushing for Coast Guard Air Station Traverse City to become a national testing site for autonomous maritime technology. Consumers Energy says it has invested more than $90 million this year in 1,001 electric reliability projects across the state. The company says 886 more projects are planned through the end of the year, including more than $3 million in additional work planned for Grand Traverse County. The projects include substation repairs, high-voltage line maintenance, and replacing aging power lines and utility poles. Consumer says it prioritizes areas with frequent outages and projects that can benefit the most customers. Michigan's OK to Say Safety Hotline received more than 10,000 tips last year, the second highest total in the program's history. As students return to school, Michigan State Police are reminding families the confidential service is available to report threats, mental health concerns, substance use, and other activity that could affect students or schools. Tips can be submitted by students, parents, or teachers through phone, text, email, or an app. State Police say if something doesn't feel right, speak up, even if you're not sure it's serious. All right, we're going to be joined by a special guest. The Rotary Club of Petoskey had a big announcement the other day, and one of the club members, Megan DeWint, joins us now to talk about that announcement. So, Megan, how did this Centennial Project come about?
Well, we had funds from fundraising event for our centennial for Petoskey Noon Rotary that was raised in the total amount of $277,000. And now we're looking to award it to an eligible nonprofit educational institution or municipality in Emmett County.
And what projects or organizations, who qualifies for consideration?
Sure. So that it would be any nonprofit that serves the people of Emmett County, and any educational institution and public school, municipalities and public agencies, faith-based organizations for non-religious community projects, and individuals or unincorporated groups that could partner with an eligible fiscal sponsor.
What kind of projects are the ones that you're looking for specifically?
Sure. This is a really important caveat that it must be a bricks and mortar project. So that's new construction or a significant physical improvement to an existing structure or site. Some things that we're looking for, potentially a new pavilion or plaza, or improvement to a park or a playground, improvement to a community building or public facility, or any infrastructure need that may serve a defined public need. And the other thing that is really important is it must be shovel ready at the time of application. So this isn't kind of a visionary project, but it's something that has already been planned by whatever organization is applying.
Yeah, and you mentioned an organization for a project. I don't know if I read the press release wrong, but is this money only going towards one project, or could it be divvied up between, two or something like that?
There is a possibility that it could be, but really, the probability is it will go to one organization to fulfill their need for a specific project.
And what's the application process like? How can an organization apply?
Yes, we're encouraging applicants to go to petoskey-rotary.org, and from there they'll see the Centennial Grant tab. The application is now open, and it will close on November 1st. From there, we will do a first round of scoring where we will select 3 finalists, and they'll present their projects to Petoskey Noon Rotary in mid-March, and we'll announce a winner in late March.
How's the winner selected? Is it the committee? Is the entire Rotary vote on it?
The entire Noon Rotary will be voting for the finalist, yes.
We're speaking with Megan DeWint, the chair of the Centennial Project Committee. Megan, thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks again to Megan for joining the show. A man who made threats against President Bush nearly 20 years ago has admitted to threatening to kill Governor Whitmer. The U.S. Attorney's Office says 49-year-old Ronald Seville of Honolulu sent an email to the governor back in May threatening to shoot up the state Capitol building and come after her. A few days later, Seville called the FBI and said he wanted to kill Governor Whitmer because of her political affiliation, and he was planning a trip to Michigan. When he was located in Hawaii, Seville said he sent the emails because he wanted to be taken seriously and be noticed. He said he intended to scare and threaten the governor. He could spend 5 years in prison, federal prison, as part of a plea deal. Sounds like one of those many people who would benefit from an insane asylum. Michigan wildlife officials are asking residents to check hardwood trees for signs of the invasive Asian longhorned beetle. The beetle has not been found in Michigan, but it has been detected in parts of Ohio, New York, and Pennsylvania. The beetle can attack and kill up to 12 hardwood species, with maple among its preferred hosts. Officials say to look for thick wood shavings around the base or branches of trees, as well as round exit holes about the size of a pencil. Anyone who spots the beetle or signs of an infestation should take photos and report it to Michigan invasive species officials. You're also encouraged to not transport firewood, which can spread invasive insects. You are now caught up on local and statewide news. We're going to have a conversation with a pair of local high school football broadcasters. That's headed your way after these messages. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk, WMKT.
Fox News, I'm John Saucier. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney working on a trade agreement on U.S. tariffs and says while they were able to make some progress, talks ultimately fell apart because of demands from the United States.
We made progress, and we did make some progress in recent weeks. In the end, that momentum reversed, and we could not accept what the U.S. had offered, nor could we give what they asked.
President Trump accusing Canada of ripping off the U.S. for years. In a recent post on Truth Social, some Canadian goods imported into the United States now facing a 50% tariff. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent questioning Canadian Prime Minister Carney's decision not to agree to a deal.
Is he trying to benefit himself, the Liberal Party, or the Canadian people? Because they were offered a very good job.
The Canadian Prime Minister blamed a collapse in trade talks on U.S. negotiators issuing a bunch of last-minute demands, vowed to set his own tariffs in retaliation starting next month. America's listening to Fox News.
Did you know that for 80 years, Paralyzed Veterans of America has been a lifeline for our nation's veterans with spinal cord injuries and diseases like MS and ALS, and all people with disabilities? In just the last 12 months, PVA has funded research of the first non-addictive pain medication in over a decade, partnered with an award-winning sports anchor to fight for accessible medical care for women veterans, ensured all women with disabilities feel seen and empowered with help from a top cosmetic company. And that doesn't even include what PVA have done over the last 80 years, like secured the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, pioneered wheelchair basketball, helped design iconic landmarks, made the DC Metro a model transit system, and wrote and distributed resources in over 60 countries in 4 languages. None of this would be possible without your help. Every breakthrough, every battle won, and every life impacted is driven by you. Visit pva.org to learn more.
When a child is struggling with their mental health, the adults around them can make all the difference. Parents, teachers, coaches, anyone who shows up in a child's life. That's why the Kids Mental Health Foundation provides free, expert-developed tools and resources to help adults support the kids they care about.
Having those resources is the same as the CPR class to me. We're trying to save a life here.
Kids Mental Health starts with us. Find free resources at kidsmentalhealthfoundation.org.
Why do you love Shriners Children's?
I love seeing all the opportunities she gets from being here. It's the look on her face the first time we walked in and she saw somebody else that looked like her.
They take good care of you.
It's just amazing because when I come here, I feel like I belong.
Shriners Children's provides specialized care and therapy that helps kids like me do what I love most.
At first, when the accident happened, we didn't think she was going to walk again, but when she came to Shriners, it gave us hope that, hey, Braylee's going to walk again.
This place is amazing, and I can't believe how much it's helped me through my hard times.
What I love about Shriners Children's is the mission. There's nowhere else in the world that I could provide the care that we provide for the patient and the family.
Thank you for helping us do what we love the most.
To learn more, visit loveshriners.org. Thank you.
Triple Talk WMKT weather forecast.
Still cloudy in areas this afternoon with peaking sunshine and temperatures in the low 70s as our high today. We do drop to a low in the 50s tonight with some clouds sticking around. Although we have clouds tomorrow, it'll still be partly sunny with a high in the low 80s for Tuesday. Maybe some light rain late in Tuesday night, but Wednesday should still be partly sunny with pop-up showers and a high near 79. That's your forecast on 102.3, 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT.
If it happens in northern Michigan, you'll hear about it right here on WMKT's Talk of the North with Nick Rudy on Northern Michigan's News Talk leader 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT, and streaming online at WMKTTheTalkStation.com.
Welcome back to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT, streaming online at WMKTTheTalkStation.com. Our phone number, 866-371-1270, 866-371-1270. It is a great time of year, folks. One of the things that this the scent of fall in the air will remind us of is high school football. High school football just about to get underway. And like we introduced last year for the first time on the show, we spoke with local high school football broadcasters. And this season, we'll be joined by Tim Lewick and producer Austin, who are play-by-play hosts of Kingsley Stags football and Petoskey Northmen football, respectively. First up, joining us on the WMKT airwaves is Tim Lewick. All right, Tim, thanks for agreeing to speak with us each Monday here as football season gets underway. Kingsley finished the season last year, 11-3, a deep playoff run again for the Stags. So kind of looking to this season, is this a young group or is it experienced? Do you have a lot of starters coming back from last season?
I think it's a mixture of both, Nick. We have a great senior class who, as you know, experienced a state final run, didn't end the way they wanted, and now, they're back for their senior year with the expectation that it's, state championship or bust. Now, whether that plays out, we're going to see over the next 13 weeks or so. Sure. But they have the mentality, and they have worked extremely hard this summer. And have gotten the young guys to buy in. So I'm looking forward to an exciting season.
Yeah, have you been out to any of the practices? How are things looking at practice?
I haven't been to a practice, but I've watched their recent scrimmage against Petoskey and Mount Pleasant, and they kind of held their own against those bigger schools. So it's hard to tell in these scrimmages because the coaches are pretty vanilla. I'm going to be honest, and they don't really show a lot of the things that they're going to do because everybody in the state is watching with the huddle system. Everybody's got everybody else's kind of scrimmages, so they kind of do a lot of vanilla things, but we're going to see a great test here this opening week against Reed City.
Yeah, we'll get to that here in a minute. What do you think, though, overall for the season, some keys to the season will be for the Stags?
Well, when you're a small school, we're Division 6, kind of in the middle of Division 6 now. You need to stay healthy. I think they built some depth at, the positions. I think we have a very strong offensive line and a really good backfield. But you got to have depth on both sides of the ball, so you don't have 11 guys playing both ways, and that's kind of been built in. So staying healthy and preventing mistakes and kind of getting better from week 1 to week 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and so on, and to week 10 and beyond. So that's kind of the mentality that Kingsley's had over the last 6-7 years here.
Opening up against a solid opponent this Friday, Reed City, as you mentioned. They were 9-3 last season. Their season ended against you guys in postseason play, so no doubt they're looking for maybe a little bit of revenge. But what does Kingsley need to do to beat them? What are they? How are they looking this season, and how are you match up against them?
Well, we have played Reed City multiple times, in the regular season, opening week, and in the playoffs over the last few years. And Reed City has just a great program. They're a wing T school like us, so who does the wing T better? You're going to have to be really sound on the offense and defensive line because they're big and strong up front, and they have been over the years. And so being physical at the line of scrimmage and dominating, I think that over the years we've always been a little bit better conditioned than them in week 1, and that's been to our advantage. So we'll see if that plays out. But, it's always week 1, and you've just had a few weeks of practice and a few scrimmages. Can you tackle? Can you block like you're supposed to? And, if those are the things that Kingsley can do consistently, I think we'll come out on top.
Who are some players that fans need to keep their ears peeled for this season as leaders on the team?
Well, on the line, Colin McCoy, he's a senior. He has been an integral part of this program for a couple years, and unfortunately, he was one of the key players that wasn't healthy in our state final game last year, and I think it played a part on the outcome. And Colin, he's just a really good offense and defensive lineman, knows all the positions and plays it well. And then senior Nolan Hodges in the backfield is going to be one of the guys, key players. But I think our backfield across the board is going to be good. But Nolan's been on varsity pretty much halfway through his sophomore year, and he's looking for a big senior season as well.
And just a reminder to folks, Kingsley Stags football is moving to another of our sister stations, 104.5 Bob FM. You can still stream games on our website, theticketnorthernmichigan.com. Tim, Kingsley is one of the teams impacted by it. You're supposed to be playing 9 games. You're only playing 8 because Sheboygan canceled their season. And they were not the only team to cancel their season in Northern Michigan. You've been around high school football for a while. Are you worried about the future of 11-man football for smaller schools?
Well, I think it's tough. I think the 8-man thing, you might see expanded a little bit more. But, it's tough because Kingsley has good numbers at a small school, and we have good numbers in soccer. So we just have lots of kids that want to participate in athletics. I know it's not that way everywhere, but Sheboygan, I'm sad to see that. We've had a great relationship with Sheboygan. We're always treated well up there. So I'm hoping that this will just be a 1-year thing, and they can right the ship up there. But it's difficult. Schools are smaller now too, so the numbers aren't there, and maybe you'll start to see some co-ops coming back, which were kind of prevalent in the past. So time will tell, but you're right. It's sad to see, but it's the changing times over the 40 years I've been in around Kingsley football.
Sure, and you mentioned, and I was going to ask anyway about Kingsley doing quite well with getting numbers for football, and then you mentioned soccer as well. Why do you think that is? I mean, because Kingsley, again, a smaller school, but not only have they been fielding numbers, but they've been very successful, obviously, especially in the past couple of years with their teams. What do you think? It's a culture thing? You think the kids just are really into the sports they play?
Absolutely, I think it's a culture thing. We preach family, and we have a new soccer coach too, and he preaches family, and there's not an adversarial relationship between the two. They want kids to participate. There may be some crossover kids, some soccer kids that may kick for football. So you build those relationships, and support each other's sport, even though you don't play soccer or football. So it's definitely a culture thing. You got to get the kids to buy in. You got to get the parents to buy in, and want to be part of the school pride and the extracurricular activities. And we're fortunate to have it at Kingsley, and it's a great blessing.
We are speaking with Tim Lewick, play-by-play for Kingsley Stags football. They always have a phenomenal group of players, so you're going to want to stay tuned to their season this year. Always deep playoff runs, it seems, the last couple of years. You can listen over on our sister station, 104.5 Bob FM. Tim, thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
No problem, Nick. Have a great week.
Thanks to Tim for joining us today. He'll be back next Monday. We'll recap the Reed City game and talk about the game that is for next week. So you can look forward to that conversation. And now in studio with me is producer Austin, does play-by-play for Petoskey Northman football and basketball, but we are all fully focused on the football season at the moment. Petoskey finished with a record of 5-4 last season, just missing the postseason, if I'm not mistaken. They won 4 out of their last 5 games, which is a really good way to end the season, build for the future. But the question, Austin, is this team returning a bunch of players, or is this a young group?
This team is returning a lot of players. I will say more so in the sophomore, junior, and some seniors, but mostly junior class coming into this year. They're looking to build off of what they had last season. Now, if they had defeated Marquette in Marquette last season, they definitely would have had that ticket punch to get into the postseason, but unfortunately they fell short, and they're looking to build off of that. And a lot of those road games that I went on last season, they're going to be at home this year. Northmen are looking for a little bit of a revenge game, if you will, and I think they're going to do some business this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you have a senior loaded roster, that that's going to be your best chance to make a deep run. But I feel like the gap between, and maybe this is just my experience and the teams that I played on and some teams that I've watched over the years, but I feel like the jump from sophomore to junior is the biggest. And so I think that what you saw last year is actually going to be a building block. If you had a bunch of freshmen that are now moving to sophomore, maybe not as much, but really the move from sophomore to junior seems to be a huge jump as far as maturity, and maybe even just the growth physically as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And one name I do want to mention who's making that step, he's kind of the heart of the offense, and that's Lucas Nemec, the quarterback. He's stepping into his third year. His first year he was behind Solitis when he was in his senior year. Now Lucas Nemec started sophomore year last year, stepping into year 2 as the starter. He's going to have to take big bounds and leaps, and I think the coaches are going to be excited, and they're expecting a big step from him as well in terms of his accuracy, his general just laymaking of the whole field, and his command of the offense. I think he's going to take a big step this year.
Yeah, so that'll be huge for them from that sophomore to junior leap at the quarterback position. Should be pretty noticeable. Have you spoken to or been to any of the practices? Have you spoken to any coaches about how practices are going?
I haven't spent any time at the practices quite yet, but I will be speaking in more detail with Jared Webb, the co-coach, as Jim Webb is also one of the head coaches, and he's kind of doing a father-son tandem this year. I'll be speaking with him in a little bit more detail on Wednesday, and listeners on 104.7 and 1340 The Ticket, our sister station, will be able to listen to that conversation Thursday night when Petoskey goes down. And when I spoke with Jared earlier this year, he likes what he sees. He sees a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of improvements from those sophomores turning into juniors. He sees a lot of physical growth as well as their knowledge of the game and the layout of the field and the routes that need to take, and just better ball handling skills, better accuracy from all the quarterbacks, and just a lot of growth has come from this team.
Co-coaching, is that new this year, or did they do that last year?
They did it a little bit this year, but it's kind of like a tiered system. They're doing it little by little each and every year, just
Gotcha.
for the two.
So what are some keys to the season for the Northmen with the group that they have this year?
My first one is to just establish the run game. They kind of did that last year a little bit, but at times you also have to rely on the offensive line for that as well, to create those gaps for the running backs. And that's the key thing, is for the offensive line to establish themselves in the trench and just make those lanes possible for the running backs, and just create that wall for Nemec to give himself that time to either find a pass or create the blocks necessary for the running backs this upcoming season. I'd say on the opposite end of the ball is just to dominate the trenches as well, that you want to just be explosive right off the snap, kind of make their opponent's offensive line just kind of weary and unexpecting of what's next for you guys. And another thing I have to say is I think Lucas Nemec, not just him, but wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, all the passing players got to have better connections this year. They did pretty well last year, but I can see their connections growing stronger as they learn more in this practices. And as they had their scrimmage against Mount Pleasant last season, I haven't seen any tape, but I've heard that good things came out of that, and things are going to go well and grow and continue to go well and improve upon this upcoming season.
Do you recall from the teams that you played last year, especially the ones that you play frequently, you know, like the division opponents, of course, do you recall, or like Escanaba, teams like that you're going to be playing this year and you play almost every single year? Were they young last year, or were they a lot of senior heavy classes? And so, you know, kind of like the path forward, is it going to be easier this year? A lot of teams kind of in the same boat as Petoskey, sophomore, juniors. What is the division opponents? And we'll talk about the game that's coming up this week. That it's an opponent that I don't know if you guys have ever played before, so you probably don't have a whole lot of tape on them. But you know, when you were watching last year, were these teams that you were playing, were they older, or were they kind of in the same boat as the Northmen?
Most of the teams that we played in the Big North Conference were in the same boat. Gaylord, Sault Ste. Marie, Alpena. Marquette was a little more upper class heavy. Okay. Escanaba was more upper class heavy. Cadillac, same boat as us. And I expect Escanaba to be just as good as last season. I expect Marquette to probably be in the same boat as Escanaba as well. The two UP teams, and three, I should say, with Sault Ste. Marie, I expect the Sioux to also take a step this year. Granted, they weren't in the best position as well, as they actually had quite a few seniors, but they also had a lot more underclassmen getting called up from JV quite a bit. So I expect the Sioux to have a little bit more of a balanced roster this year as opposed to last year. Gaylord's in a little bit new position. Alpena, I think, is a little bit of a sleeper team, to be honest. They acquired the former head coach of Gaylord, and from what I have heard and I've seen some on tape, he's really revamped Alpena quite a bit. And I don't think that's a team that Petoskey should be taking lightly.
So nothing's gotten easier. It's going to be just as tough as always.
Yes.
I gotcha. So they open the season. You said Thursday. Hopefully that's not going to be a routine game day just this week.
Just this week.
So Thursday this week against Croswell Lexington. They had a 4-5 record last year. Previous couple of years they were 7-3, for 3 or 4 years straight. It does not seem to be a team that they've played before, or if it has been, it's been a while. What do you know about this team? Is it a large school? Is it a smaller school?
This is a smaller school. I believe they are Division 6 or 7. And I know Kingsley, who Tim mentioned just a few minutes ago, they are Division 6. I believe they are a smaller school than Kingsley.
Really?
They're in the thumb area of the state, and this is a team that Petoskey has never seen. And that's something I have not seen any tape on them. I do not know what their style of play would be, but I expect them to really hit the ground running. And this game is actually interesting for listeners of Petoskey Northman football. This game will be at Clare High School, a little bit of a neutral site, if you will, which is not really common in high school sports.
Neither team wants to drive all the way.
Exactly. So they both decided, hey, let's play in the middle, and Clare happens to be it. Yes, that is Thursday at 7 o'clock on our sister station, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, 104.7 and 1340 The Ticket. Dan Hasty will actually be taking that call for that, and I'll be hosting the home opener against the Sioux the following week.
Keys to the game, a season opener with all the jitters. So it does sound so it's a smaller school. You never want to take any team lightly, but it is a team that struggled last year. I'm sure there'll be some improvements year to year, but it's a smaller, significantly smaller school. So, Petoskey is going to have an opportunity, it sounds like, to be able to get the jitters out without worrying too much about losing, but they don't want to sleep on a team.
Yeah, my first thing was just to establish the run game. I mentioned that already, but get the ground game going, and then if somehow that doesn't work, just establish the passing game, which I know for year 3, the first game, always higher expectations, and you have a little bit more pressure on you, whether you're on the coaching staff or on the field. There's going to be a little bit more pressure for this team to do well, and I really believe that they're going to get done. Jim Webb and Jared Webb have created, they've retained, I should say, such a phenomenal coaching staff to prepare these players for this upcoming game, and it's not one to take lightly. You don't want to overestimate an opponent, and Croswell-Lexington looks like a trap game to me, whereas you don't want to overestimate them. You don't want to play at their level. You want to force your opponent to play at our level. And so offensively, establish the run game, get the passing game going. Defensively, stop the run. Kind of a more simple way to explain it. Stop the run and then prevent the deep pass.
So, yeah, and Petoskey, it's a huge season. You got upperclassmen now. It's going to be a big opportunity for them, to try to rebound after a tough season. And again, you kind of, it's been a couple of years now, but TC teams are no longer in your conference. You're kind of the biggest school in the area right now, so this is going to be a big season for the Northmen. I'm sure you've already seen, but this is probably something that's going to shock the listeners a little bit, that the Northmen play 3 home games in a row to start. Then out of their 6 remaining games, they have 4 on the road. That is tough to play 4 out of 6 on the road. A bit of a unique season, so I'm sure you kind of want to rack up some wins at home when you can before that road gauntlet, because that's not. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're playing. And if you mentioned the Sioux, who was kind of the easiest team in your conference last year, being at home, so it's going to be a lot of tough teams to play on the road too. It sounds like.
Yeah, Escanaba's on the road. Thankfully, Marquette's at home this year. I believe Cadillac is at Cadillac this year. We're traveling over to Alpena. Gaylord's going to be home as well. And I believe we're also at the very end of the season, we're traveling down to Clare. And Clare is kind of one of those teams that are out of conference, but we've kind of played with them in the years past. So, yeah, a lot of tough home games, but also a lot of tough road games as well. Thankfully, we're not traveling nearly as far as we did last season, but still a lot of travel on the road.
Yeah, final question. You mentioned one, but it's a lot of players on a team, so I'm sure there's more than one. Some people to listen for, some players to listen for this season as the Northmen prepare for a push for the playoffs.
That's a very good question. Unfortunately, I don't have the set roster yet. The coaches haven't sent it to me.
Man, it's only a couple of days away, and
they
don't have the roster set.
I asked for it, and I haven't gotten it.
They're
quite
really
yet.
trying to keep all the cards close to their vest.
Yes,
they don't want
they are
anybody.
this year.
Tim even mentioned that because he's like, Petoskey really didn't show a whole lot from what I heard. Because I guess they scrimmaged Kingsley, apparently.
They did earlier, and then they also scrimmaged Mount Pleasant as well.
Yeah, so. I didn't even see the Kingsley one on the MHSA website. I saw the Mount Pleasant one, but it must have been even more.
Yeah.
But that's honestly, that'd be a really good scrimmage for Petoskey because, they're a bigger school. But, again, as we've established, Kingsley is just a behemoth powerhouse of a school for Division 6.
Yeah, they always do a good job. But like I said, Petoskey's keeping their names close to their chest.
Well, we will follow up with you on Monday for the game that is, again, on Thursday. Thanks, Austin.
Thanks, Nick.
Well, we'll wrap up the rest of the show here talking some Tigers baseball. There's not much to talk about. They're just awful. They had every opportunity these last 6 games on the road, yes. But, again, it's just absolutely just terrible teams. Pirates not very good. The Royals, just a very, very bad Royals team. And look, I mean, it's not I wouldn't say it's one of those things where it can be, two things can be true at once or multiple things can be true at once. Look, there is truth to the fact that the future is bright with Jackson Jobe and Troy Melton and Cater Montero as like a core young pitching staff for your starters. Maybe Reese Olson coming back and, staying healthy and pitching as well as he used to. And then you have, players like Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal playing quite well. It's Lee has been a bit of a revelation offensively. He needs to find a position. Hopefully we'll get rid of Torres. Not that I like the guy, but, Colt Keith needs to get to second base. That's the only place he's going to be able to play. And hopefully Riley Green continues to get better and better as I don't know if Torque's going to be part of the team, but yes, the future is somewhat bright, but that's the problem when you've had basically a forever rebuild with 2 years that were apparently quite lucky. And the thing that, you have people saying like, oh, the future's super bright and, look at our run differential. Yes, I understand there are things to be excited about, but I don't know in what world you can say this team going into the season was a World Series contender. They were on the outside looking in, but they were kind of like that last team that you would consider as a World Series contender. I was not the only person saying it. Detroit sports, City of Detroit sports radio programs were saying it. National media even was saying it, that this would be a team in a weak weak American League that they can come out for the World Series. Maybe not win it, but I mean, you get run over by the Dodgers or the Brewers, but make it to the World Series. And they are the 4th worst team in the American League, which is a historically bad American League. So not only did they just not come anywhere close to expectations, but they did so in a year where being thoroughly mediocre would have been enough to not only make it into the playoffs, but possibly win the division. Just being okay. 68-62 for the AL Central Chicago White Sox, who might be a little better than their record indicates, but that's still not a phenomenal record for a first-place team. There are going to be at least there's going to be at least a playoff team that is below 500 making it into the playoffs. Very likely. Unheard of. Tigers are 3.5 out. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because they ruined their opportunities to win 4 out of 6 games against the Pirates and the Royals, because now they have the Rays coming to town, and now they have the Dodgers coming to town later. And if they play like they have against those two teams, they're going to get steamrolled. Now, the fact of the matter is this team, for whatever reason, plays really well against plays really badly against bad teams and plays quite well against good teams. It's actually been a thing that they've done for the past couple of years. Well, they'll play really poorly against like the Athletics, and then they'll beat the Yankees and sweep the Yankees the next series. It makes no sense. So whatever they do this week is going to be a bit of a mirage. It doesn't really matter. I mean, will I accept wins if they win 6 games in a row and they're now 1.5 back in the wild card spot? Will I be like, oh yay, sure, but until they get into the final playoff spot and win a couple of games and maintain that lead, it doesn't matter because they were in a playoff spot not a week from Friday. Controlled their own destiny, as I said at the time. And they haven't won basically a game since. They won 1 game since then against the Pirates. So, and I don't know. I mean, Troy Melton hasn't looked that good recently. Jackson Jobe hasn't looked that good recently. I don't know if the league's adjusted to them. And man, the thing that's bothered me, and it's almost time for the show to be over, unfortunately. I talk about this all night, but they win the battle. They win the race to 2 strikes. They can't strike to anybody out. It's infuriating watching these games. And 0-2, 1-2, and they walk the guy or give up a home run in some cases. But we'll talk more about it tomorrow. That's all the time that we have for today's show. Thank you, as always, for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with more of the news you need to know. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM. Charlevoix, WMKT. Have a great night.